Hello guys, next part of my Knights of the Frozen Throne card review, and we are discussing Shaman. So Shaman is the only class where a lot of the cards have a very similar theme. With a lot of the cards in this expansion, a lot of the like each class has a lot of different cards that work well in different decks and could do different things. Whereas Shaman has got a lot of the these freeze synergy cards, so there could be a potential for a whole new archetype of Shaman, freeze Shaman, or something like that. Yeah, I mean one way of synergizing these freeze cards are Glacial Shard and Frost Elemental are two neutral cards, which also have freeze. So, and they're both also elementals. So that could mean that some kind of freeze elemental Shaman we could try and make that a thing. But yeah, we'll get straight in. The Death Knight for Shaman though has nothing to do with freeze. It's 5 mana, so cheaper than most of the other Death Knights. Battlecry, transform your minions into random ones that cost 2 more, and you gain 5 armor. So it's essentially a double evolve for 5 mana, and it changes your hero power to 2 mana, increase a friendly minion's mana, transform a friendly minion into a minion that costs 1 more. Yeah, so it's basically like using evolve on 1 minion, which is good. It's like arguably not better than Totem is the one thing. It definitely is better than Summon a Totem, like overall, but totems have very good synergy with a lot of other cards, like Flame Tongue, like Bloodlust, like Thing from Below. So the current kind of token evolve Shaman that people are playing, you're not actually that happy about giving up your hero power. However, you are pretty happy getting a double evolve. So I would probably be happy slotting this into the current Shaman lists that people the current Shaman list I've been running anyway, which is different to the one most people have been running. But anyway, this almost feels like it would be better in maybe like a Elemental or even Jade Shaman, like the kind of deck where you're not that worried about your hero power. You're probably not playing probably not playing Bloodlust, maybe not playing Flame Tongues even. And so your totems are a lot less valuable, and you can use your evolve hero power on your Battlecry minions, because generally evolve is very good on Battlecry minions, because Battlecry minions are usually understated. So elementals and Jade, so things like Jade Spirit, it's a 4 mana 2/3. You evolve it, evolve that, great. It's going to get turned to a 2/3 into a 5 mana minion, which is really good. And same with a lot of elementals. Things like Servant of Kalamos, Firefly, etc. Like these are minions you're pretty happy using evolve on, because they've got their battle cry, and so they're generally lower stats than the average minion of that mana cost. So yeah, this is pretty strong, and it's cheaper than a lot of the other Death Knights, which is a big deal. It means you can play this in more aggressive decks rather than just slower decks. Okay, the first freeze card, we have a 5 mana 2/7 taunt. Freeze any character damaged by this minion. This is Voodoo Hexer. So it's very, very comparable to Ali Armor Smith, the Warrior Taunt, which is a 5 mana 2/7 taunt that gives 2 armor every time it does damage or attacks. Well, every time it does damage to something. Yeah, anyway. This card is good. This card is good. Freezing things is going to slow your opponent down. Like these freeze effects, it does feel like you're going to want to be playing them in a more control-y Shaman deck. Like you're not going to want to play this card in an aggro deck. Like that's for sure. But a lot of the time, a 2/7 taunt, because it's got 7 health, you're probably going to have to trade multiple minions into it. So even though it's got 2 attack, you can end up freezing multiple minions with this. So this is a good card. Ice Fishing. 2 mana, draw 2 Murlocs from your deck. 2 mana, draw 2 cards is very good. However, you have to be playing a Murloc deck for this to be... Well, you have to be playing Murlocs, some Murlocs in your deck for this to be even like, considerable. And currently, like Quest Shaman, for example, it's pretty awkward because you want to play the quest on turn 1, but generally Murlocs need to be ahead on board. Like they all buff each other and all rely on each other being alive, and like you play the Murlocs and then they like snowball. But if you're passing turn 1, it completely goes against what Murlocs are trying to do, and so I find it hard to see Murloc Shaymin becoming a thing. Maybe you're just playing some kind of Shaman deck with a few Murlocs in it. Like maybe you're playing a freeze Shaman deck, and you're playing the new Murloc 2 mana 2/2 Murloc Battlecry freeze an enemy minion. This is obviously a good card. 2 mana 2/2 with a good effect is good. But if you were playing, say you were playing a freeze Shaman and you were playing 2 of this, what other Murlocs would you play? I mean, you could play like a Corrupted Seer, but it feels like whatever Murloc you're playing, you're just playing it for the sake of it. So this is much more likely to be seen in a heavy Murloc deck, which unfortunately I can't see being good anytime soon. You could also play this in a deck with like the Finger package, and you're not playing all the Murlocs, you're just playing like Finger, double War Leader, double Bluegill, something like that. To try and help you find your Finger, because Finger can just win you the game on its own. So if you can find, obviously if you draw your other Murlocs, they're going to be underpowered. Like if you draw like 2 Bluegills, generally it's not that good. You definitely do want to be getting Finger, but that's maybe another way this card could be used. But yeah, Murlocs and Shaman, I'm not sold on right now, in Standard anyway. Snow Fury Giant. 11 mana Elemental, 8/8. Costs 1 less mana. Costs 1 less for each mana crystal you've overloaded this game. So, overload isn't really that widely seen in Shaman at the moment. Mainly because Token Shaman is so popular, and really the only overload they run is like Jade Claws. There are some heavy overload cards though, like Earth Elemental, which is obviously a very powerful card, but it's not really that useful right now in the current meta. Also, we have another new big overload card, Drakari Defender, a 3 mana 2/8 taunt, overload 3. So it's almost like a mini Earth Elemental. 2 mana less, but you have 3 less attack. But this is pretty interesting, because it's got like the same stats as Deathlord. And a 2/8 is going to be really nice against these like token decks. So decks that like flood the board a lot, but don't have, their minions don't have much health. So like playing this against Living Mana, for example, is really nice. Yeah, but Overload 3 is obviously a massive downside. So it's obviously a big tempo play where when you are playing this card. Maybe some kind of like control-y Shaman though, where you have lots of late game and this can be a big stall card. Like this can give you tempo. So I like this card. I like this card. And Snow Fury Giant is pretty cool as well. You are going to have to be playing a lot of Overload though. And like what Overload do you really want to play? Like you can play Lightning Storms. Lightning Storms is a very good Overload card. You might be playing Earth Elementals. Volcano is another good card. Like my issue with this is that like, you might even like you're not gonna play this in a control deck, right? You're not gonna play this in a control deck. No. It is an elemental as well, so you can play like an elemental Shaman with lots of overload in. I mean, in elemental Shaman, you can easily just play like double Jade Claws, double Lightning Storm, double Volcano, and that's a decent amount of overload already. It's also 11 mana, which is a big deal. Because it means that if Yogg evolves itself, it actually transforms into something else. It doesn't just stay as a 7/7/5 and continue doing its spells. It will transform into this and stop casting spells. So it's a pretty big deal. Also, it means that 12 mana minions can be devolved. So I think the most important thing about this card is the fact that it is 11 mana. Yeah. Avalanche. 4 mana Shaman spell. Freeze a minion and deal 3 damage to adjacent ones. So originally I was comparing this to Multi-Shot, the 4 mana Hunter spell that's deal 3 damage to 2 random enemy minions. This is kind of like that, but you're choosing which minions you're doing it to. However, it's worse if they only have 2 minions, because you're freezing one and doing 3 damage to one instead of doing 3 damage to both. But it's nice, it's kind of flexible, because you can use it to freeze something big if you're under a lot of pressure from one big minion, but you can also use it as kind of like a mini AoE to clear a couple of minions. So you play, say you're against an enemy Shaman and they have like a Primal Fin and then like some Flame Tongue or whatever. You kill their Primal Fin, their Flame Tongue, and then freeze whatever's in the middle, which will probably be a 1/1. But, yeah, I mean, the best thing about this card is literally the synergy with Icebreaker. Icebreaker is a 3 mana 1/3 weapon. Destroy any frozen minion damaged by this. So, obviously, you're going to want to be playing a lot of things that freeze stuff if you're playing Icebreaker, because Icebreaker is very nice. It's essentially a 3 mana, 3 mana just poisonous weapon if you're just freezing stuff all the time. So this weapon is very good. This weapon is very good. This is okay. Like, this is fairly good as well. Cryostasis, 2 mana spell, give a minion +3/+3 and freeze it. So this has 2 uses. You can freeze an enemy minion and then smack it with Icebreaker, but you're going to be giving the minion +3/+3, so you're also going to be taking a fair amount of damage for doing that. You can use it on your own minions. Obviously 2 mana give a minion +3/+3 is really good, but you can't attack with it for a turn. It's probably, like, if you're using this on your own minions, it's probably more useful on things like Mana Tide or Primal Fin or that kind of minion where it can't really attack and you don't mind it being frozen because you don't really care if it attacks. You just care about it surviving and getting value. So like Flame Tongue, Primal Fin, Mana Tide, this would all be pretty nice with this. Yeah, it's a nice flexible card. Can I see Freeze Shaman being good? Like, I don't think it wouldn't be a full Freeze Shaman, but I could maybe potentially see a Freeze Shaman with, or a Shaman with a couple of freeze synergies in. Mainly because Voodoo Hexer is very good, and Icebreaker is very good. Like, these 2 cards are both very good. Murloc is also good. The last card, the last Shaman card we haven't discussed yet, is the legendary Murabi, 6 mana 4/4. Whenever another minion is frozen, add a copy of it to your hand. So you can get crazy value out of this, right? You play this, and then you just freeze some stuff. You play this with, like, Cryostasis and Murloc or whatever. And you get some good value out of it. I mean, the cool thing out of it is that you actually choose what minion you're freezing. So you can choose what minion you're getting in your hand. If you're playing a Tyrion, you're like, oh yeah, okay, I'm going to freeze that. And then Murabi plus Murloc freezes Tyrion, plus get a Tyrion back in my hand. Like, you can do some really cool stuff with this. But it is very slow, and you're going to have to be playing a lot of freeze effects in your deck for this to be worth playing. So I think it is slightly too slow, and I don't think the Freeze Shaman cards are quite good enough to for this to see play. Yeah, so I mean, overall thoughts on Shaman. I really like the Death Knight. Death Knight's good. A couple of the freeze cards seem good. Not all of them though. And yeah, this is a 3 mana 2/8 taunt. All right, I'll see you in the next review, guys.